Welcome to eBritish IELTS. So today we're going to talk about the types of letters for your writing task 1 of the general training paper. Now this video is specifically for the general training students, as the writing task 1 in both the academic and the general training differ from each other. In the academic part, the first task is usually a data interpretation question, and in the general training part, it is always some sort of a letter. So now remember that the letter or the first task of your writing module carries 3 out of 9 bands, and it is relatively easier to score a higher band as compared to the writing task 2. So getting a good hang of the writing task 1 will help you achieve a higher band score in the writing module, and also in the overall higher band score. So now remember that this task carries 150 words. You can exceed the word limit, but try not to fall short of it. The minimum that you have to write is 150. If you're anywhere short of 150 words, then you tend to lose a lot of marks. So always keep that in point, that you make relevant points, you have enough content to write so that you're able to cover up 150 words. Now there is no specific format to write a letter, but as IELTS trainer, we always give them a structure, a plan, so that it is easier for them to attempt this particular question, and also they don't lose a lot of time in planning the answer. So how do we write a letter? We usually have 3 components to it. That is the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So in the introduction, you write the purpose of writing a letter, as to why are you writing it to somebody. The purpose can be anything. For example, maybe you are writing the letter to somebody to invite them over for a party, or maybe it's a letter of resignation, or maybe it's a letter of apology. So you always write the purpose in the introduction. Now the second component is the body. Here you are going to mention all the details. For example, if the letter is about inviting somebody to a specific event, you're going to write all the details of that event. Why is the event happening? Where is it happening? When is it happening? Who all are invited? Why is the person invited? Everything. So you have to mention all the points in the detail. And then the last part is the conclusion. It is very easy to write. You just have to make some kind of resolution and conclude your letter with a nice concluding remark. Now remember that you always sign off these letters by writing your full name. It doesn't necessarily have to be your real name. You can use a fictitious name, but it has to make sense. Make sure that you're not using just initials or just random alphabets like A, B, C or X, Y, Z. It has to be a proper name like Richard Brown or like Sarah Singh, something that makes sense. Okay, now coming to the types of letters. So there are broadly 3 types of letters: formal, semi-formal and informal. So the first is the formal letter. Now when we write a formal letter, we don't know the name of the person it is being addressed to. It is usually addressed to a formal organization or a person of authority. So the tone of the overall write-up will be very formal. Try to maintain the formal tone throughout your letter. Do not be casual or informal at any point of time. Your tone and the way of your writing should be extremely polite. So the examples of this letter are complaints, a letter of resignation, a job application, maybe complaint of some sort. So all these are formal letters. Now also remember that do not use any kind of contractions or short forms. For example, we always have a habit of writing don't, won't, can't. So make sure that you're not using these type of terms. You're using full formal words like do not, cannot, would not, will not. So keep this in mind to make a better impression. The second is the semi-formal letter. Now here you do know the name of the person that you're writing the letter to, but that person is not directly related to you. You do not have a personal relationship with that person. They're not your close friends, they're not your relatives. For example, they may be your neighbor or your landlord. Some kind of examples are invitation, explanations. Maybe you're describing a certain incident that happened in your life, you're describing an accident, or you're complaining about somebody. For example, you're writing a letter to your landlord complaining about how the ceiling is leaking or how the water is not coming out of taps, something like that. So the person is of a higher authority. You do not have a direct relationship with them, but still you need to maintain a certain level of formality in the semi-formal letter. The third is the informal letter, which is also known as the personal letter. So here you are directly related to the person you're writing to. That person may be your friend or your family or a relative. So you know what the name is. So here you can start off by saying dear brother, dear sister, or you can take first names like dear John, dear Sam, because you already have a nice personal relationship with that person. So the examples of this type of personal letter will be maybe describing a trip that you recently took on your vacations, or an apology of something that you did. You're saying sorry for it. So the overall tone does not have to be very formal, but still remember, do not use acronyms here. Make you, for example, how we use it in text languages these days, like LOL or OMG. It is still a letter. So a certain level of formality has to be maintained throughout all these three types of letters. So I hope you got a gist of the types of questions that can come in the general training part of your writing module of the IELTS exam, and you keep in mind all these points and achieve a better band score. Thank you.